live, well, recording. Welcome to the workshop. So this is an Addo Multo Model 113 calculator, and it has been the biggest battle to get it going. Everything that should move has been locked solid. Spent days releasing all of these and all of these cogs down the back, which were all completely jammed solid. It's working now. The reset lever should be working now. Yep, this all works. But yeah, every single part of that, this side as well, I've had to actually fully disassemble this. That now lives here for the moment. All of this, these are the shafts that they live on, and these were just completely locked solid. It took hours and hours and hours to bash those off. And the number wheels. So that all needs to go back together. This is the tens carry mechanism. Awesome little piece of engineering. Not entirely sure how it works, but it sits on this, which sits on these springs here, and then I think this piece sits on these like this, like that, I think like that, and then this piece tracks the back of the wheel. You see, one of these is slightly longer than the rest, and that's what triggers this whole mechanism, which is, all of this is just basically so that you can carry a 10 from one column to the next. When this first one moves over from 9 to 0, and you need to add a 1 to the column to the left, and that's what all of this gubbins is for. Mostly comp. And then there's, what have we got here? That's the input for all of this. That comes from here, which links into this output here. This is the auto reversing mechanism. You can see if that's the input for it in the center, then depends on if you're turning the input one way, it comes down this side where there are two cogs, so the output's the same. And if you turn it the opposite direction, then it comes down this side where there's three cogs. So whether your input is clockwise or anti-clockwise, your output is always going to be the same direction, either the same or the opposite of the input. It's very clever. And there's a latching thing at the top there, so that it remembers the first turn and then it always uses the same. And that's what this thing here is. It's the latching thing. And that all mounts on this, which is the side of the machine. So that's where the input comes through. This is part of the latching mechanism here, I think. And I think that's part of the reset mechanism to reset it. And then this is the base it sits on. This is still completely jammed up. This is almost nothing. You see that's on a spring. It should move, but God, it's stiff. So this doesn't move at all, and it should. That's the case. That's the pinwheel pack. That's finally working properly at last. These are cool. You can see it's got this. Where is it? There it is. Got this safety lock on the side. That's what wasn't working properly. But I gave it some oil yesterday, and it's freed up now. So I can only select a number here when that's pressed in. So if I press that in, select a number, and then that releases and sets the number. And you can see here where the pins have popped up. So I've selected a number 4, and you'll see here on that particular wheel 4 pins have popped up. So if I do another one, press that in and go a bit further down, And now if we look on this pinwheel, you'll see, if we look from the side, there you go, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pins have popped up there. And that's how you get your number into the machine. You select it on the front and the pins pop up on there, you see. And then you turn the handle, those pins interact, if you can see here, those pins are going to interact with these cogs here. So 4 pins means 4 clicks forward, and as you can see that puts a 4 there, and obviously 6 pins means 6 clicks forward, you get a 6, which is all very cool, and that's how it works. So you just keep adding. Obviously if you go to 9, at the moment I go to the next number, it doesn't carry over because that is built into the body, but it does pop up this tens carry lever here, which is cool. And what they do, when you go between, if I go from 9 to 0, then this tens carry lever has popped up here, and you'll see it's got a sort of a sliding angle pointing at the cog for the next wheel. What that is, on this, as this goes round, you'll see there's these, see if you can see them, there's a row of movable pins. Alright, let's look at these ones. Look, a row of movable pins here. They're in focus, I don't know if they are. There you go, movable pins, and they will slide over to the next wheel as it goes by. If the tens carry is set, then that slides over and increments the next wheel along by 1. There's another one, and they're all in a spiral so that it'll do them one by one from right to left across the number. So that seems to be working all right. And then this was all jammed up. This is the input display. Every single one of these cogs was frozen onto its shaft and wouldn't move, but they're all nice and loose now. What else have we got? Things. We've got pokey things and levery things, and there's a bell somewhere over here, look. And yeah, so we're getting there. My big problem is this. This is the main input side, right hand side of the machine. And this here, if you can see, this just got an angle, sort of rounded surface there. That's a cam follower, and it follows a cam on the side of the main wheel, which is, where is it? It's just in there. It's that plastic yellowy thing, and it follows that round, and at one point there, look, you can see it, there's an indent where it's, and the rest of the time it's wide, but there's an indent right there. And what that does is, as the thing turns, this will drop into that indent. This thing here will drop into that indent. But the rest of the time while it's turning, it pops out. And what happens is, when it's at rest, it's like this. And if you look down in the corner here, there's a little pin. So that pin is retracted, but as soon as you start turning it, that pin sticks out. And that pin there engages in these little holes in the back of the slide. So that means whilst you're turning the handle, you can't move the slide left and right, which is, you know, a safety feature. You don't want it moving around while you're doing your sums. So the problem is, of course, that it's not, the spring is not pulling that back. You see, I can't even push it back with my thumb, it's so stiff. There you go. That is supposed to be loose. There's a spring here, so that as the thing turns, pushes it out, and then when it gets back to where that indent is, that spring should pull that back, and that pin on the right there, you should see that retract as it moves, like that. But this pivot here is completely jammed. This plate at the bottom is fine, that's loose, you can hear that. So this arm isn't catching on this. This is the reset. This is the reset lever. This connects up with the right hand cog on this number display here, and resets everything back to 0 when you pull that handle there. So days I've had of this one. It took 2 days just to get it to move. That's why it's got all these scratches on it, because it's seen the brunt of my pliers, as you can see. Yeah, I don't know. It's a strange way it's been put together. There's this, it's like a rivet. If we can get it to focus down here instead of up there. Yeah, there we go. I think that's got it. Yeah, there's a rivet there, which is quite a large piece, as you can see. That sticks through to form, let's see if we can zoom in a little bit on that, can we? Yeah, and if you look inside the hole, you can see where it's been hit and bashed to flatten the top, thus trapping this onto that post. I'm not doing very well with focus here, are we? So this whole thing that it's sitting on here is connected to this and turns with it. So you've got this connect the top bit and the side bit, which sits over that there peg which comes through and is bashed over on that side. So I can't pull that off to clean it without drilling the top of that peg off, and if I do that I can't reattach it. I don't have anything to reattach it, so I'm running out of ideas of how to loosen that up. Don't know. And of course that's a showstopper. If that doesn't work, the whole machine doesn't work, because you do one rotation of the handle, that pin's going to stick out, and then that's it. Ain't never going to go back again, which means you can't move your thing left and right. And I don't know if there's anything else attached to this that would be affected. I don't think so, but it would mean that was it. You'd never be able to move that again until that retracts. So I don't know. I think I shall probably go ahead and rebuild this anyway, just for the experience, because I've never attempted anything like this before. I've never had to do so much pulling things apart. So that will be fun. These are all the little springs, or most of them, that because each one of these is sprung, and that's sprung. They're sprung to each other and away from each other as well, which is very odd. See the springs? Oh, you see one of them there. Look. But yeah, you can see the problem on this. These were all absolutely jammed solid. I couldn't move them even with pliers. I couldn't get these things to move. I had to soak oil on them for ages. But if you look on here, you can see why. This was the oil. But now, it isn't oil anymore. It's like crispy and hard, a bit like this, like varnish. You know, it's gone crispy and hard and just glues everything together. And the only way... Well, what I use is this this releasing oil, fast release oil. It's brilliant stuff, and it actually softens this up. You can see it on my nail there. Look. It softens this up enough that you can just get things turning, and then once they're turning, generally they loosen up quite quickly. After that, you get some more oil under them, and they loosen up quite quickly. But yeah, and then the next job will be to clean this thing. I don't know where all that muck came from. That's the base. That's this thing here is part of the spring that drives the carriage. Because every time you push the carriage to the right, it sets a spring, and then when you use this to move it to the left, the spring pulls it back step by step. And it's got all these gubbins on the bottom here, all these teeth for controlling how far it goes, which interacts with this, which is also gum solid. That's supposed to be very loose and floppy, and on this spring will then control where it sits. And it's very clever actually. That sits underneath this bit here, and when I move this to I push it this way to try and move the carriage. This is on a spring, and it's underneath there. It comes out, flips up, catches onto the bottom of here, shoves it along one space, and then as you let go of this, it folds down again and comes back underneath here out the way. Very clever design. So yeah, these are all some of the screws. I think they're all kind of organised in sequence. There's some more bits and pieces here. I kind of know where most of them go, I think. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. So, yeah, that's something to do on a rainy afternoon. You can hear the rain outside. What a day. So, yeah. Matt's workshop. Oh, go on, focus. Here is an old Model 3 which I worked on a couple of weeks ago. Very similar, as you can see, but it doesn't have the auto reversing mechanism here. It doesn't have the tens carry system here. We're in focus. There you go. Doesn't have auto reversing, doesn't have tens carry, and it doesn't have the feedback to feed back the result from here back up into here. That's what all these extra cogs on the back here are for. That's part of the feedback mechanism. There you go. That doesn't work properly either. The reset mechanism doesn't work properly. But we'll see. And then hidden under those cards in the corner is my next project. I'll show you that next week, maybe. Yeah. So, that's workshop.